I woke up this morning before the sun came up. That's something that happens now. Sleep doesn't hold me the way it used to. I made coffee in the kitchen that's too big for one person. And I sat by the window watching the light change the color of the sky. And I did something I haven't done in a long time. I looked at myself in the mirror for more than a few seconds. 80 years look back at me now. The face I see isn't the one I remember, but it's honest. Every line, every mark, they're not just age, they're a map. A map of where I've been. And if I'm being truthful, most of those roads led nowhere that mattered. I'm telling you this because I don't have much left to protect, no image to maintain, no one left to impress. Just time and a silence that's become too loud. The house creaks at night. I notice it now. For years, I was never here long enough to hear it. I was at the office, at meetings, at dinners with people whose names I can't even remember now. I told myself I was building something. A legacy maybe, security for my family. A life worth remembering. But when you sit alone in a house this quiet, you start to realize what you actually built. 4 walls and emptiness, receipts and regrets. What remains in the end is the truth you were too afraid to say when it could have changed something. I spent decades building a future. That's what I called it. The future. I worked late. I missed dinners. I skipped birthdays. I told myself it was for them, for my family, for security, for a better life. But that was a lie I told myself so I could sleep at night. It wasn't for them. It was for me, for my pride, for the house I wanted people to see, the title I wanted people to respect, the life I wanted people to envy. I called it ambition, but it was closer to a sickness, a disease that made me believe the present moment wasn't enough, that now was always just a stepping stone to something better, something later, something more. I remember my daughter's school play. She was 7, maybe 8. She had 3 lines. She practiced them for weeks in front of the bathroom mirror. I heard her through the door while I was getting ready for work. She was so excited. She made me promise I'd be there. I meant to go. I really did. But a client called. An emergency, they said. Everything was always an emergency back then. I told myself I'd make it up to her. I'd take her somewhere special on the weekend. I'd buy her something nice. I never made it to the play. And the weekend came and went like all the others. More work, more excuses, more promises I didn't keep. She never mentioned it. Not once. And somehow that was worse than if she had yelled at me or cried. She just stopped expecting me to show up. And eventually, I became the father who wasn't there. And that became normal. Acceptable. The way things were. What remains is the weight of all the moments I traded away for things that don't hold you at night. My son once asked me to teach him how to fix a bike. I said, "Later, buddy." Dad's got work. Later never came. He learned from a neighbor. I found out years after. He didn't even tell me. Why would he? He's in his 50s now, my son. Lives 2 states away. We talk maybe 3, 4 times a year. Birthdays, holidays, conversations that feel like obligations we're both trying to get through politely. He's not angry with me. That might be easier if he were. He's just distant. Like we're acquaintances who happen to share blood. I look at pictures of him as a boy, and I barely recognize the moments. There's one photo he's holding a baseball trophy, grinning so wide his eyes are almost closed. I'm standing next to him in a suit, checking my watch. I don't remember that day. I don't remember the game. I was probably thinking about a meeting the next morning. He remembers. He just doesn't talk about it. My wife used to wait for me at the dinner table. She'd keep my plate warm. For months. Then years. And then one day, she stopped waiting. Not out of anger, out of acceptance. I had already chosen. She knew it before I did. We stayed married for 42 years. But if I'm honest, we were really together for maybe 10. The rest was just routine. Politeness. 2 people living in the same house, sleeping in the same bed, moving around each other like furniture. She got sick 3 years ago. Cancer. It moved fast. In those final weeks, I finally stopped working. I sat with her. I held her hand. I told her everything I should have said decades earlier. She smiled at me, a sad smile. And she said, I know. I always knew. But knowing isn't the same as hearing. And hearing it when you're dying isn't the same as hearing it when you're living. What remains is not the applause. It's the silence after everyone's gone home. I crossed every finish line I set for myself. I got the promotions. I bought the house. I paid it off. I sent the kids to college. And when I finally arrived at the place I'd been running toward my whole life, I looked around and realized I was alone, completely alone. There was a retirement party. My company threw it for me. 38 years of service. They gave me a watch and a plaque. People said nice things. They clapped. They ate cake. And then they went home to their families, and I went home to an empty house. I put the plaque in a drawer. I never wore the watch. What was I running toward all those years? I thought I knew success, respect, financial freedom, the American dream, whatever that means. But here's what nobody tells you about the dream. It doesn't keep you company. It doesn't call you on Sundays. It doesn't sit next to you when you're scared or lonely. It's just an idea. And you can't hug an idea when it's 3 in the morning and you can't sleep because the silence is too heavy. They tell you to take care of your health. I didn't listen. I thought my body was a machine I could run into the ground and fix later with money or doctors or willpower. I was wrong. You can't buy back your knees. You can't negotiate with your heart. The body keeps a ledger, and it settles accounts when you least expect it. I traded my health for deadlines, for overtime, for one more deal. And now I pay for it every morning when I stand up. What remains is a body that remembers every time you ignored it. I had my first heart attack at 56. I was in a conference room, middle of a presentation. I remember the pain in my chest, the tightness in my arm. I remember thinking, not now. I'm too busy for this. Too busy. As if a heart attack cares about your schedule. They put in a stent, told me to slow down, change my diet, exercise, reduce stress. I nodded. I agreed. And then I went right back to the same life, because I didn't know how to live any other way. The second one came at 63. That one scared me. That one made me think maybe I wasn't invincible. Maybe there was a limit to how much I could push, how much I could ignore, how much I could postpone taking care of myself. I'm on 7 medications now. My back hurts when it rains. My hands shake sometimes for no reason. I can't walk like I used to. I can't do a lot of things like I used to. And for what? So I could work an extra 10 hours a week? So I could skip the gym and grab fast food at my desk? So I could prove to people who don't even remember my name that I was dedicated? Your body isn't something you own. It's something you're borrowing. And it will ask for payment. With interest. What remains are the things you didn't say when there were still ears to hear them. There are words I didn't say. I love you when it felt awkward. I'm sorry when pride got in the way. I'm proud of you because I thought they already knew. They didn't. And now some of those people are gone. And the words sit inside me like stones, heavy and useless. My father died when I was 42. We had a complicated relationship. He was hard on me growing up. Nothing was ever good enough. I resented him for years. And then I became just like him, distant, demanding, always focused on what came next instead of what was right in front of me. He had a stroke. It was sudden. I got the call at work. By the time I got to the hospital, he couldn't speak anymore. He could barely move. But his eyes were clear. He knew me. I sat next to his bed and I wanted to say so many things. I wanted to tell him I understood him better now. That I forgave him. That despite everything, he did his best. That I loved him, but the words wouldn't come. They felt too big, too exposed. Too late. He died 2 days later. And those words are still inside me. 17 years later, gathering dust. I thought there was time. I really did. Time to say it later. Time to fix it eventually. Time to become the person I thought I'd be once life slowed down. But life doesn't slow down. It stops. I have a granddaughter now. She's 6. I don't see her much distance, schedules, the usual excuses. But when I do, she runs to me with her arms open, like I'm the most important person in the world, like my presence is a gift. It breaks my heart, because I know I don't deserve that greeting. I wasn't that person for her father. I wasn't that person for anyone. But she doesn't know that. She just knows her grandpa. And for those few moments when she's hugging me, telling me about her day, showing me her drawings, I get a glimpse of what I missed, what I could have had if I'd just been present, if I'd just shown up. I'm trying now. Better late than never, they say, though I'm not sure that's true. Sometimes late is just late. What remains when everything else falls away are the small moments you thought didn't matter. The Tuesday morning breakfast, the laugh in the car, the hand held for no reason, the quiet evening with nothing to prove. Those are the things that warm you when you're old, not the trophies, not the titles, not the house. I remember this one morning. It must have been 25 years ago. My wife was making pancakes. My son was sitting at the table doing homework. My daughter was humming some song from the radio. It was just a regular morning. Nothing special. I was rushing to get out the door, running late as always. I grabbed my briefcase, kissed my wife on the cheek without really looking at her, and headed for the car. And as I was backing out of the driveway, I saw them through the kitchen window. The three of them, together. The light was hitting them just right. They looked like a painting. A perfect little scene of life happening without me. I almost stopped. Almost went back inside. Almost decided that whatever meeting I was rushing to could wait. Almost. But I didn't. I kept driving. Because that's what I always did. I think about that morning more than I think about any award I ever won, any deal I ever closed, any achievement anyone ever recognized. Because that morning was real. That morning was life. And I drove away from it. What remains is the chance you still have. If you're reading this and you're younger than me, and chances are, you are, I don't have advice for you. I don't have steps or strategies or secrets. I just have what I know now, sitting here in a house that echoes. Don't wait. Not for the promotion, not for the right moment, not for when things settle down. They won't. Say what you feel. Hug longer. Ask the questions. Make the call. Show up. Be there, not just physically, but actually there with your mind, your attention, your heart. Stop trading your now for later. Later is a place most of us never reach, and the ones who do find it empty. Stop living for people you don't even like. Stop trying to impress people who won't remember you in 5 years. Stop chasing a version of success that requires you to sacrifice everything that makes life worth living. Your kids won't remember the size of your house. They'll remember whether you showed up to their games. Your spouse won't remember how many hours you worked. They'll remember whether you were present during dinner. Your body won't forget the years you neglected it. And your heart won't forget the words you never said. I know what you're thinking. I'll balance it eventually. I'll make time when things calm down. I'll do it differently than he did. Maybe you will. I hope you do. But I thought the same thing. We all do. The trick is that life never calms down. There's always one more thing, one more deadline, one more goal, one more year. Until there isn't, what remains in the end is what you gave when it cost you something. I'm not telling you this to make you sad. I'm telling you because I didn't have anyone tell me. Or maybe someone did, and I wasn't listening. But if you're listening now, if you've read this far, maybe that means something. Maybe it means you still have time to choose differently, to live instead of just exist, to be present instead of just productive, to love people out loud instead of assuming they know. I look in the mirror now and I see a map of a life lived at full speed in the wrong direction. But maybe you don't have to. Maybe your map can tell a different story. Maybe you can be the person who showed up, who said the words, who chose presence over productivity, who loved more than they worked, who lived more than they planned to live. I can't go back. The road only goes one direction, but yours doesn't. Not yet. What remains is the choice you make right now. This moment. This day. I'm at the end of my road. You're not. The sun is up now. The coffee's gone cold. The house is still too big and too quiet. But I'm not writing this for me. I'm writing it for you. For the person I was 40 years ago who wouldn't have listened. For the person you might be right now, standing at a crossroads you don't even realize is a crossroads. Choose carefully. Not because I'm telling you to, but because one day you'll be sitting where I'm sitting, looking back at a map you can't redraw. And the only question that will matter is, did you live it or did you just survive it? So I'm asking you, as someone who's seen how fast it all goes, someone who traded everything that mattered for things that didn't, what are you waiting for? If this made you think of someone, maybe tell them. If it reminded you of something you've been putting off, maybe don't put it off anymore. And if you just needed to hear that you're not alone in feeling the weight of time, you're not. None of us are. Leave a comment if this touched you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not for me, for them. Because someone out there is making the same mistakes I made, and maybe, just maybe, they'll listen before it's too late.